So we're going to go into how we feel about the season so far, our lessons, our musings, our learning, and then we're going to go into success. So that success will run into 3 parts, and that's going to end our season 3. So Kelly and I have figured we need to round up the year before we turn towards the future, right? But before we begin,
Yes, we do.
Thank you so much for supporting us, either on YouTube or Spotify. Thank you so much for listening in. We appreciate you. And if you're part of Podbean, thank you again for taking time to listen. If you're not aware, you can support us on Patreon just for the price of a cup of coffee or even less. And then head over to the description. You can find out how to support us there. So we'd appreciate if you found this podcast or any of the podcasts beneficial, share this to your family and friends. And without further ado, you've already heard from her. She's phenomenal. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Well, Cal, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, she looks fantastic. She's well, you had a bit of a moment where you were not well. But she's looking fab, and we were matching today unintentionally, so we're vibing today. I think today is going to be interesting, don't you say? Because we're going to be recapping our season so far. This was a different season.
I liked this season.
You did tell me why.
Oh, you know what? I learnt from it. And I love listening to you. You are so well read and so, oh gosh, your opinions and theories come from such a wide range of media and people. So you don't just get all your ideas from one person or from one newspaper or read a book and go, this book is now my mantra and it's all from that. You are just so widely read. So of course I'm learning from everything that you bring up. I mean, sometimes in some of the podcasts I'm a bit silent, and because I love everything you say. And I love that you challenge me and ask my opinion on stuff that I don't necessarily haven't really thought about before. So yeah, you make me think. And that is probably why I've really enjoyed it. You've made me think and change my opinion on things. And I've researched things afterwards and looked up things. Yeah. So I can't ask for more than that. That's why it's my favorite.
My heart's like filled up.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're
I learned a lot from our guests. So just to give people a recap, if you joined us just for season 3, who've just been with us through the start, which we absolutely love, we decided to move away from the interview style, right? So I did a lot of research on our guests. I was speaking to them before we actually had them on air. And we were inviting some big names in strength and conditioning, right? And beyond, right? Because it was about connecting with many, many people in the first 2 seasons. And then obviously we started to go into this format to delve into topics that probably aligned with our stories. Like, how can we help others learn or understand or give them tips and tools from what we've been through? But should we remind our audience why we changed this particular format? I think for me, it was I'd worked with corporate execs. I'd started to support leaders in their own health and well-being and discover ways that our own stories in the S&C field incorporate back into science, right? So how can people from an S&C background, a corporate world, take some of the health and well-being tips that we've gone through and utilize them? I think that's for me, as you said, we researched it. We had conversations. We started drawing in from our own experiences, and that gave us food for thought.
Yeah, it really did. Even not just food for thought in terms of speaking about our experiences, but for us delving a little bit deeper into the meaning of and what we learned from it personally, right?
Oh, for sure. Like you said, you learned a lot from me, but there was so many epiphanies that Oh my goodness, guys, if you haven't started season 3, like honestly, go back because there's some moments that I just pause and I'm in awe, and Kelly's like, did I confuse you? I was like, no, I'm just taking it in because like that was profound. There was a lot of profound like aha moments, I feel, for both of us.
Both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying yesterday or today that we seem to have an epiphany for ourselves, where there'd be a bit of radio silence and we're going, that wow,
Yeah, it's
how
like the penny just dropped.
controversial. Yes, the penny dropped. Exactly that. So yeah, I would also say go back, start season 3, give us some feedback as well. Give us some feedback, because that's why we changed season 3 as well, a little bit based on a lot of the feedback we were getting from people who had been in the same circumstances. And we would agree that, the job we did was hard and long and we were burnt out. And what did we do about it? And so we went, oh, might make a podcast over it.
And
that turned into
I love that you started off with that because the first 3-part, we've done a lot of 3-part series and part episodes, really, should I say, within this series. And then this 3-part episode was about our storytelling on extreme exhaustion in sport. And what was our experience? What was our tools? What was our habits? What we adopted had a major effect on us physically and mentally. What would you say, Cal, were your biggest take-home points from that 3-parter?
the stuff I wasn't doing that you were doing, which was putting down the phone and social media for at least an hour before bed, I think you said. But you do it for longer than that. And you have no notifications on any of your messages, do you? No. I don't have it on my social media. I have no notifications on. So I'm forgetting that I even have it lately because
I was listening to a TED talk yesterday, and it's linked into my Facebook group page. No, group.
Yes.
Facebook group, Hybrid Performance. Check that out. There is a link in the description box. And within that TED talk, she said people check their emails. I think she said something like, well, they check social media, they check, right? So just anything. It could be emails, social media, whatever. 360 something times in one day.
How many times?
360 odd times.
Gosh. So how
No, it's just like we're checking something, we're checking for something which we sometimes we're not getting. It's almost like you're checking your email. You're checking your email for something that you're not getting, and then you get distracted. So say, for example, I'm doing a lot of content for my social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. So everything's interlinked. So I've got multiple projects with Fitness Chicks in particular. I'll admit I'll still get distracted. I'll get distracted because I'm there for a purpose. I'm using it as my business, but then I'll get distracted by like miniature food making or like dog houses. And then now, because the algorithm recognizes, oh, this is the way to reel her in and keep her on IG for a lot longer, keep showing her that material. And I'm diverted from my actual job of trying to interact, trying to engage, trying to support other women in the fitness industry and get the message that I'm, putting out there. So I'm distracted, which is fantastic because that's what social media wants you to do. But people are doing that day in, day out. I'm aware that I'm doing it. People aren't aware of it. And then they go, oh, I've just spent half an hour on social media and I don't know why. Or like I've just spent an hour scrolling. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like as long as you're aware of those things, and that's what we did in the first 3-parter, like this is what had happened to cause us to get into extreme exhaustion. And these are the tools that we've learned. Like, so it doesn't mean that you need to learn them in the most difficult way, right? Learn from what other people have learned.
Over a long period of time. Yeah.
I think for me was when we did the second 3-parter. I found self-sabotage so interesting to dissect because I think I was sat within that paradigm. There was many that could stand alone in itself, but I forgot that they were part of self-sabotage. So say, for example, procrastination. I forgot that actually that is self-sabotage, right? I forgot that there were elements that I was self-sabotaging myself and I could draw from my experiences. And then there was so many lessons and so many tools and tips that we gave in that second three-parter. What was the biggest topic that you found stood out for you, Cal?
Over the whole season?
In those three-parters. So I think for me, with self-sabotage, it was like breaking promises to ourselves. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Dwelling on mistakes, struggling to set boundaries. I'm getting better at that.
That was mine. Yeah.
And then
that was
imposter syndrome, comfort zone. Like,
look, a little part of all of them, and I think that's why we chose those topics anyway. But setting boundaries is probably one that I still need to be kinder to myself with by actually doing that. And you've got to think of it that way, as it being a kindness to yourself rather than it being rude to other people.
Yeah. So I saw a really good quote recently, and it says, you putting boundaries or you putting yourself first means you put yourself first and others second. When you're putting others ahead of you, you're compromising your boundaries and you're putting yourself second. I was like, that's so true.
It is true. Being a mum changes that. No matter how old your children are, you would still put them first. And your mum and your dad do for you, right? And your brother. And you see that.
Yeah.
So if there's any mums listening in, I think they'll be nodding along going, yes, it's good and fine to say put yourself first. And then every single time you don't. Like, you're the last one to book to the dentist. You're the last one to go to the doctor. You're the last one to get the COVID booster.
Do you think that, so physiologically, I just sat on my computer. I'm so passionate. Physiologically, our brain changes. So women's brains changes when they are pregnant and when they have given birth. So if you look at the physiological changes that happens to the brain, so it stops growing when the female is looking after the baby. And then what ends up happening is the brain of the body prioritizes this new human life. It is your sole purpose to keep this thing alive. However, because then now there have been physiological changes, neurological changes in your brain, you've now created these new habits that you're doing daily. You're, compromising your sleep, your food, your energy, your time, all into this minuscule thing to keep alive. And then for decades, you've been doing that because you've trained your brain to do this in a certain way. And you're adapting to the changes around you because obviously as the child grows, you're growing. And then when the birds leave the nest, it's kind of hard to then go back to that mentality of putting yourself first. You almost have to relearn how to put yourself first. And I think that a lot of mothers have to go through that transition of evolution.
Yeah, that's a course that you actually do need to put together, because it does take deliberate action to do that. Because like you say, it's decades worth of nurturing but joyfully nurturing. Like, look, I'm talking from my own experience, but I would put my child ahead of me 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I would put myself ahead of, do something for myself before doing it for my child. And then, if you've done your job right as a parent, definitely they move away from needing that nurturing and wanting that nurturing and demanding that nurturing, being paid for, being fed, being everything being done for them. If you've done it right, they do want to move away. But when they do, oh my gosh, it leaves such a big hole in your life. Yeah, so you do need to take deliberate action to learn to put yourself first again, rather than just longing for that.
Okay, well, I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on this because I'm not a mother, and obviously I do want to be a mother at one day, right? But right now, I'm going to target this to you, Kelly, and all of the mothers out there. So please do comment below and let us know what you think and feel. Because, say for example, you have been drawn out into this nurturing, caring type of person who is very responsible for your children, right? You are responsible, you are willing to give. This is not a case of I have to do this for my child. Like, you are willing to do it, right? It's just as you said earlier, parents usually drop what they're doing to aid and assist their children. However, if then somebody else within your stratosphere, within your area, asks for that, wants that from you, doesn't matter whether they're a stranger or whether they are close family members, do you think that those qualities almost like come back out? They're almost like drawn to this person to be of service to them because they've either asked for it or they need that support. There's that side of you that just brings out that compassionate side of you.
Yeah, and I think that nurturing in women is there quite naturally.
So really, it's not just the kids who then get priority, and that's where more people slot in before you do, and then you end up being at the bottom of the list.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And we could talk about extended family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people who need, like we spoke to Rich about in, I think, season 2, end of life care for your parents, right? If you're gonna put your extended family or even your close family ahead of you at that point.
Yeah, that's another good one to listen to as well, because he made me realize it's such a privilege to be there for that and to experience that and to be part of, the end of life care.
Yeah. And for him, he changed his whole life, didn't he? His whole perspective.
Yes, after that he did. Yeah, he moved away from being a professional strength and conditioning coach in a very, I believe, a high level athletic environment. Yeah, and moved to a more philosophical, caring kind of
in more of a
project.
holistic practice, I would say. Like, there is a lot of holistic practices within strength and conditioning. Like, you're told to do mental, we're not psychologists, but we've got dabble in mental health, in physical health, in nutrition, and all these, and recovery and rehab and all these different things. We've got so many different hats that we play. But it's almost like, well, how can you incorporate that holistic well-being? Because usually in professional sport, it is majority about the physical performance side of things.
Yes. Yep.
And then
I don't know where you go. Go.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say didn't get where you were going with that one.
Yeah, no, I was just going to move on to our next 3-parter. We didn't do a 3-parter. I think we went straight into like individual ones. We went into how to support our audience on nutrition for the brain, physical manifestations of stress, and then how to recover post-exhaustion. I think that's when we brought in some of our guests. We talked about meditation, self-hypnosis, programs that are founded so coaches can get support on others, and then how to remain grateful, which I just most recently heard back. But even the coaches supporting coaches, even the meditation, even the how to remain grateful, there's such good conversations that we had.
Yeah, I like the gratitude podcast as well, and I did hear a little bit of it because you sent it to me today. But there's a beautiful little what's it called, a grab that you put on Instagram, and I love that little part that you've
There were
picked out.
so many. There's so many snippets. Like there was one I was listening to. I just, you have to watch it. Honestly, I'm gonna link all of the big the big podcasts into the description. Like Rich's, like ours, like the gratitude one. But they were like good snippets. I remember posting on social media, going, well, here's what I'm grateful for, and it just came out, right? And it's just like being in that moment, like being grateful for the support and the interaction that we have and the feel good feeling, just generally. And then we kind of turned it down a little bit, and we went on to the 6 major stresses, didn't we? The mental, physical, emotional, chemical, financial. Which were your aha moments that you encountered during those podcasts?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think of all of those individually, there are definitely aha moments individually. But when you think about all of those components coming together and pressing on you on the daily, how easy to topple over your stress limit, right?
It's like a cup overfloweth, but not in the good way.
Exactly. So that was another interesting one and a good one to well, I'm going to listen back to that one actually.
I found it so interesting because, again, we drew from each other's stories, and I felt like the research that I went into, the environmental, the chemical, the mental, the emotional, it really, really did give me a chance to reflect on my own journey and the ways I've adopted a healthier lifestyle to prevent such stresses. I think it was more about identifying it through awareness, taking steps to then initiate that change, right? And then taking action towards the healthiest outcome. So I have a big question for you, Cal.
Okay.
Having the seasons format being so vastly different to the previous seasons, how successful would you class this year so far?
I personally got more out of it. Yeah. And I would hope that other people got more out of it. Previous seasons, I've really loved the networking we've done because you know what? We've remained friendly and gained some more acquaintances and enlarged our network from those 2 years, haven't we? And I still, like, Jules, when we spoke to Jules, I didn't even know she was pregnant, and now she's showing us this beautiful little baby. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You've seen her, yeah?
Yeah, I knew she was pregnant, but again, people don't exclusively share it, and I think it's obviously a personal, it's personal to them, right? So they'll only share it when they feel comfortable in doing so, and I find out a lot of pregnancies online anyway, even the like distant family members and things like that. So I definitely think that we did enhance some of our networks by bringing in a few guests, like sprinkled in throughout season 3. I feel like everybody we spoke to this season was still brand new. Like, you know, we spoke to Brittany, we spoke to Josh, and then obviously with Tez. And I definitely think that it was more of an integrated conversation. It allowed us, as you said earlier, to learn from one another. Like, how can we assist our audience to tackle their own well-being through our own experience, our own insights? And there was research then sprinkled within that, and that's what I really liked. Well, you know me and my organization and research.
Oh, it's impeccable.
What would you class that as successful? Would you class season 3 as more successful than season 2? And why?
In terms of what, I think we're getting better at setting goals or asking what, and I think we delivered what we wanted to deliver this season. So maybe in the first 2 seasons, our goals weren't as specific, or we didn't clarify them enough to ourselves, and we but this season, I think we did deliver exactly what we intended. So yes, I do think it was more successful.
I
What
love
about
that
you?
you said that. I love that you said that, because if I were to ask myself, would I class that as successful? For me, the answer would be it depends on the way we classify success. So
Oh,
I
for sure.
obviously, doing my little research, I found the success is an accomplishment or an aim or a purpose. So for example, the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status. You achieve a desired aim, and it could be a good or bad outcome that you're undertaking. And so, did we set an agenda to accomplish with the topic of health and well-being in mind, to support others, to extend that support through our experiences, as well as offering tools to use for others to use?
Yeah.
100% yes. 100%
Yeah.
the way you said, um, did we have a clear defined goal and did we achieve that? That is classed as success. Because I think that we can be quite harsh on ourselves. And
Yeah.
maybe our own personal definition of success is skewed, right? Our expectations of the result or our desired outcomes can often disappoint us if we're not clear on that goal or outcome.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a good reminder to everyone, including ourselves, to that when you write your goals and your definition of success, that financial it is not the priority. Because if you fulfill the first 10 goals, then the financial goals will come. But if you just want to make money out of something and the rest of it is kind of like, how do I make the money? Well, I do this, do this, do this. The rest of it doesn't have the passion or the, that love behind it. If you have a real goal to help and deliver that help, then yeah, that other kind of success will come.
And that's the thing, like if I go back to like people who are listening, and obviously Kelly, you know this about me, where I've got my 2-year, 10-year, like 5-year, 10-year goals,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, all the way up to like 100 years.
And that's the thing, like I've taught myself that from when I first started as a fitness coach. So even when I was in my first qualification as a fitness coach, they were like, oh, who wants to do a personal training qualification? Most of the people in that room raised their hands. And I only raised it because I was like, oh, I'm going to be left out if I don't raise my hand. Wasn't
Yeah.
actually
Oh, you
interested.
weren't?
No, wasn't even interested in doing personal training. I was just like, I'm just doing this weekend course to be a fitness instructor. I didn't even think ahead of time. Funnily enough, during the end of the course, even though that was the question, and I'd raised my hand unenthusiastically because I wanted to fit in, then within the personal training course, which I eventually obviously did take part in and take on, within the personal training course, they did a couple of year plan. So they said, well, where do you want to be here? Where do you want to be that? What are your, not specific KPIs, but what is your plan for the future? And that's when I started writing the 2, 5-year, 10-year plan from that personal training course. And what I found is I achieved those goals within 2 years. So that level of achievement, the hitting the goals, getting my master's, sorry, even before then, getting the job as an area manager within Cardiff Council, getting my master's, like getting the UKSCA, going into the world of Formula One, like all of those things were on my list, every single thing I can tick off, but it was not meaningful because they were just, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? I was never really in the moment to enjoy the journey. I was never in the space to revel in the accomplishment when I accomplished it. I was ready to move on. And there was a sense of, I think you mentioned it earlier, but I can't remember what you said, Cal. It was almost like there was no enjoyment from it.
Okay. Yep.
There was no
Yeah.
enjoyment, even in the end process. And then when I got to F1, I made a vow not to make another 5 to 10 year plan. I stopped. As soon as I got to F1, I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this. Obviously,
Yes.
a catalyst of things had happened since then, which made me lead to new visions. What do I need to envision for my life now? And I feel like I'm far more successful in enjoying this, because it doesn't matter whether I get to that goal now. Generally doesn't matter. It's almost like they say, do you get success? Are you successful and then that brings happiness, or are you happy and that brings success? Of course it's the second one.
Yeah. But it is. It is. Be happy. Just be happy, you know, with a little bit or with a lot.
Yeah.
My mum came from quite a wealthy family. My dad did not. And my dad's family was large and rambunctious, and I had so many cousins, and I have so many good memories of, you know, my nana lived in a housing commission home, which is a house that's owned by the government and rented back at a lower. Yeah. Do you have that in the UK? Similar, yeah. And it was across the road from a park, and there was a telephone booth out in the front, verge, the grass verge, and we had such fun with that telephone. And across the road in the park, and they had a dog, and they had a vegetable garden, and it was a tiny little house. And I have such fond memories of that. So, you know, they never felt like they didn't have enough.
But that to them is success. It's the relationships, it's the joy in the moments.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Different people's version of success, the different definitions of success. And some people it could be, you know, financial. It could be, I will be successful when
No judgment.
Yeah, there's no judgment here. I feel like my version of success from ticking off the to-do list has definitely shifted to go, well, it doesn't matter whether I get there because I know I'll get there. It sounds very presumptuous and egotistical, but it's not coming from that place. I feel like through history has taught me I'm able to accomplish things that I set out to do. However, rather than jumping on the treadmill and just keep going like on the hamster wheel, it's actually just going, I know I'm going to get there, but I don't need to rush. I don't need to be in haste. And my brother said something to me the other day, and he said, when you start off doing something, like if you've got a project or if you have a goal, you go in 100%. Like you are in tunnel vision. And it's true. Like when I was in my S&C phase, I want to say, where I was, you know, working 2 or 3 jobs so I can work voluntarily, so I can build up experience in the S&C field. And then I would read textbooks because I needed to get an understanding and the grasp of the basic principles of strength and conditioning. So I was learning a lot, I was doing a lot, and then I had no hobbies, I had no interests. I'd be out in public and people, I couldn't converse with people because I wasn't watching politics, or I wasn't watching the current news, or I wasn't watching TV shows because I had nothing to contribute at that point. And that's when I was like, oh, am I boring? Like all I know is S&C. And I'm not like that anymore. Like I've got hobbies and I've got interests and I've got all of these parts that I can then invest time in, which means even if it takes me a little bit longer to get to the goal, it doesn't matter because I'm not 100% going, this is my only vision, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's that old cliche, enjoy the journey. Yeah.
100%.
Every day. Yeah.
I think we've both established a baseline of success within the podcast so far, because neither one of us we're not front of the camera people. We're not people who were comfortable, you know, being in the limelight, I guess. And with our small audience, I feel like it's been a blessing because we've been able to, me in particular, I've enhanced my speaking skills, my confidence, the fears of being in the limelight. But But then I think that we create this comfortable environment that we can do this in. There's no pressure. There's no pressure to go, this is going out to 1 million people, right?
I know. And I think we said before too that when you have 1 million people, you create the content for that 1 million people. Whereas we're creating content for us and our goals, and the people who that appeals to will come to that. So yeah, we're kind of doing it backwards in a way, but we definitely have goals of the content that we want to put out, and what we want to help, and we do have big goals at the end of it with in terms of the foundation that we want to establish. But that is going to be our version of success, I think, for us.
I think so. And I love the fact that you, I know it's a cliche, but enjoy the journey rather than the goal and the outcome. Enjoy it. And
I love now, at the end of the day, being able to say, I had a really good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every day, like today I went and bought my oranges and I had a really good day. And I got some overripe bananas. Well, they weren't black, but, had a few black spots on them. They were $1 a kilo. And so I got lots of those because I peeled them, because they're also, they come off the tree ripe. This is why they're overripe. And I put them in the freezer and I use that in my smoothies. And I was talking to the man at the counter and he said, oh, the oranges are beautiful. Oh, the mandarins are beautiful. Did you get only 3 mandarins? I went, all right, I'll run and get more. And then he said, I'll throw in some passion fruit for you. And he goes, you could have the bananas for free. And I'm like, what a good day. I made an acquaintance, the man who owned the farm. I'll definitely go back there because I love supporting local anyway. So that was a joy to meet someone local and to support a local farmer. And it's always fun to get a bit of free stuff. So that was awesome. And then I got home and the oranges were so juicy and the bananas were so tasty and the passion fruit was actually so nice. So I did that. I went and got my COVID food. So I got a lot done today. I coached for 5 hours and other stuff. And so I will go to bed tonight tired and I'll go, what a good day.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love that, because I was going to talk about celebrating small victories. I know we said enjoy the journey.
Yes.
We're not there to celebrate at the end because sometimes we forget to celebrate. However, celebrating the small victories. So you've said about the small victories in your day, but apart from learning a lot, what other small victories would you include in season 3 so far?
You've really asked a question that I haven't even thought about. Other than learning a lot, what would I say was successful about? I think the social media has improved. You know what I love? This is what I've loved. The little spiel you've been putting on Instagram lately about Kelly and Tuls. Yeah, no, it's fabulous. Kelly and Tuls have been through it, come out the other side. Don't pretend you don't know it. You write it. You're brilliant.
Have I copied and pasted it?
I hope so. I hope you don't write it every time. Kel and Tuls discuss the science. Oh, no. There. Where have you done it? Oh, Tuls.
Do you want me to chat?
They've discussed the science behind gratitude and why it's so beneficial for your well-being. This podcast allows you to access the tools and habits they found to live a healthier and more fruitful life. But there was more to it. So there was more. I guess I just got to look at unapologetically you.
Oh, so I have changed it. So I don't copy and paste. I copy and paste it and then tweak it. That's my little secret.
Right.
Do you
not a secret anymore? I love what you write.
Oh my goodness, you're so sweet. You know what? And that's a bit of a fear of mine. So not only being in front of the camera and messing up, I guess that's one of them.
Yeah.
Being okay with failing, like in terms of it's not a failure because you've learned from it. Like even if you mess up, and like I remember you earlier saying, oh, I don't like pausing, or like I feel like put on the spot sometimes, and I feel like, well, that's just authentic. That's just an authentic conversation, and like having those is it synchronicity? Synchronicities.
I can say it if you don't ask me how to say idiosyncrasies.
That's it. Well, that's what I mean. It's just like sometimes it just happens, and you just let it happen. And for me, not controlling all of the situations, like letting flow.
It's just beautiful. Yeah, and we do flow actually, but it's bliss, isn't it, when you just laugh over it?
Yeah, I think like not taking myself so seriously, and then because of that, you're a little bit more at ease. I think we do that anyway with each other. We're definitely at ease with our conversations, and we probably wouldn't have been able to do this in season 1 and season 2, like even being comfortable in front of the camera enough to have conversations like this. Like we'd be like, oh, who would be interested in that? But that's what people do, and that's why podcasts are successful as they are. And like you said earlier, the right audience finds the content that we're trying to give out, right? And I feel like what we're doing is more authentic to who we are, which means we're not having to manipulate a lot of things or conspire.
Or hide parts of ourselves.
And that's a big one. I think I needed to obviously be a bit more vulnerable within myself. I wouldn't have been able to do this like 3 years ago.
Oh, same. I would have worried too much about what people thought, like certain people in the industry, I guess, because we are not probably standard strength and conditioning coaches.
There's nothing standard about you and I, girl.
But we do things with a little bit more heart. We do things with a little bit more soul, and sometimes with a little bit less science.
Well, we do incorporate science into it, but I want to say that we're not industry standard.
It's the best I can describe it as well. We don't always talk shop.
Yeah.
You know, so many strength and conditioning coaches, when they get together, talk about strength and conditioning. And again, no judgment, but it's just not what I want to do anymore.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you, and I want to hear about you, and I want to hear about your opinions on things that I might already have an opinion on, right? So I want you to change my mind.
Ooh.
That's what I've loved about the people I've met lately.
That's a good challenge. Okay, that's going to then lead me into the last 3-part episode for this season. And I promise this is the last 3rd part, unless you guys like it and you like the 3-parters and the little breakdowns that we have within the season. Comment below, let us know so we can get our feedback too. But why not end full circle with another 3-parter? I feel we can clarify success in our last 3 casts. So this is more about the biggest definitions of success: money, fame, power, relationships. These will be the center of our conversation, so be sure to watch out for those episodes. Kelly, is there anything else we need to add before we round up today?
I think we've covered everything that we wrote down that we wanted to talk about and round up about. We've added a little bit more along the way, but that's us. We always go a little bit off track. And so it wouldn't be unapologetically you if we didn't.
100%. And you got the name right.
I did, finally, 3 seasons in.
For the audience, I'm going, what is Tulsi on about? I'm going to try and find a blooper somewhere where I asked her to introduce. And it just...
I won't do it. Tulsi always says, do you want to introduce or will I do it? And I'm like, you do it. I can't say it. So let me just say it again. And unapologetically you. There you go. So basically 1 episode and 1 blooper. But I get twisted up.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, for listening in, wherever you were in the world. Thank you so much. Remember to hit the follow button on Spotify or YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook. And as I said earlier, Hybrid Performance, a Facebook page. All of the links are in the description box below. Thank you for supporting us for free. And for those who want to express their gratitude for this series and allow us to do more of these episodes, head over to Patreon. You can make a contribution. Anything will help. And it could be as little as the equivalent of buying us a cup of coffee. So head over to the description box below to find out more. And be sure to share this with your family and friends. And we will catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kel.
Bye, team.